Vibes of Cosmos, Book 3, page 13, Analemma. Analemma, the movement of the sun and the moon on the surface of the earth. As you know, the sun and the moon are not what we are shown in movies and NASA. Look at this. Before this, Vibes of Cosmos explains the calculations, mathematical. This is like the mathematics on the surface of the earth. So regarding the sun and moon movements, with proper calculation, you have to take time to study this. Nobody wants to do this because everybody wants time to do their hobbies and to have fun. It's obviously, but yeah, spiral motion of the sun and then components of motions and the middle spiral step, very important, which is the reason why the other channels and people who study this thing, they just put the sun and the moon in a perfect circle and that's it, forget it, end of the story. No, there's actually a calculation that explains the middle spiral step that gives you the analemma. The middle. Anyway, the spiral motion of the sun and the moon is obvious if we take the same photo every day exactly at the same time. Same photo every day exactly at the same time in the same place. What we see here called analemma with double M and happens because of the complex motion of the sun and the moon. So the sun and the moon does not move in a perfect circle 360 degrees. Simplistic. No. The same way that what they tell us about the globe and what we see with the movies is fake, the same way the typical flat earthers, the simple flat earthers on their simple channels is fake as well. So the sun and the moon, they move on a complex motion. Of course, the earth is flat and everybody knows that, but you can't just simplify the movement of the sun and the moon just because you're lazy and you just want to put a circle. It's a complex motion. The duration of the sun's analemma is equal with the period t sun of sun's harmonic oscillation motion, which is calculated on the previous pages, and that gives us the sun analemma duration. So a full analemma is done in 365 days. And the 0.25. And in the case of the moon, it's the same analemma, but the duration is 28.5 days, which is actually the calendar month. That's why the word month comes from moon. So it's actually 28.5 days. That's why we have before in the past, we had 13 months. Those 1.5 or 2 days from each month would give you the 13 month. And the moon gives us this, which the moon is totally in synchrony with the menstruation cycle of the woman, of ladies and girls. Previously, when there was no condoms, this is what people were using not to get pregnant, to have sex with pleasure. So yeah, that's just your typical folklore knowledge. And always also regarding the sun, right? Because the moon, we see this every month. That's why the calendar month. So as you can see here, the months of the year. April, starting from middle April, so from middle spring, May, June, July, August, so a part of spring and all of summer. This is the summer, or the sun is in Europe, North America, Russia, right? The USA, Canada, and as well. And then afterwards, September, October, November, December, January, February, and March. This is where the sun is during the fall and winter in Europe, Russia, North America. And this here is summer in South America, like Argentina, Chile, South Africa, and Australia, New Zealand. So it's the analemma explains everything, and the analemma is pure science. Unfortunately, nobody wants to speak about the analemma. The typical people who just want their typical globe earth with curved water, they just want that. And they want CGI, computer graphics, and 3D stuff in video games. And the typical flat earthers who they just want to stick with their simplistic, perfect circle sun, they do so because they simply don't want to study. No, they're lazy. Right? They're just like the globe earthers are lazy. The typical flat earthers are lazy as well. So you have to just understand that this is about the reality of the real world. To understand what is real, not because your ideology or your politics or your principles or your hobbies or your personal opinion. Nobody cares about your personal opinion. The only thing we care about is the objectivity, the objective, not subjective, objective reality of the real world. And for this you have to study. You also have to study a bit of math as well. You can't just go through life without the basic maths. And you have to study what happens on the skies, which is the analemma. And this is the main reason why also the biggest problem with the maps, especially with the Gleason map, is that the Gleason map shows the world in the what we call the northern hemisphere, well, so Europe, North America, and Russia, with almost perfect detail. The problem comes from the equator onwards, when you have this huge analemma of the sun and the distortion caused by the extension of the whole map on the circle. And that's why from pretty much from before the equator onwards towards the south, it's a huge distortion. It's an insult to human intelligence, the Gleason maps. That's why the only true map is the Vibes of Cosmos map, which is the moon. So the moon shows the world map. And afterwards, what you see here, this is just a representation, a simplified representation, because it's so difficult to represent the full complexity movement of the Analemma with the middle spiral step on paper. So that's why afterwards, in all the typical like representation, you're going to see a circle, the circle of the sun and the moon, just because it's so difficult. So that's why you have to study the movement, and then once you see the new maps again, you're going to understand it's not circle, it's Analemma. But of course, you can't just represent Analemma all the time. So that's it takes time. And then, of course, you have the eclipses here as well, and the separation of the layers in space. But this is important, you know. So, like, people take for granted that what they see on the sky, they don't follow their own observations and the reality of the real world. They prefer CGI computer graphics with the sun and the moon, or they just prefer your typical Gleason map. No, you just have to understand a photo of the sun and the moon. In the case of the sun, it's a full year. Same photo every day at the same time. So if you decide to take it at noon, right, you take it at noon. If it's 2 p.m., it's 2 p.m. every day. If it's 10 a.m. or like 4 p.m., it has to be the same hour every single day of the year. That's how you have the Analemma. This is like what happens every day in our lives. So it's unfortunate and it's sad that the big majority of the human population, you know, people say they are truth seekers. No, nobody is a truth seeker. Like, there's very few people who are actually truth seekers. A truth seeker just wants the truth. A truth seeker does not wish to impose personal opinions, or just because lack of knowledge or ignorance. No, a truth seeker analyzes the truth of the reality of the real world. And even if that reality and the real world doesn't fit his mentality or his purpose or his opinions, it doesn't matter. You have to follow the truth. Like, there's so many truths out there that you don't agree with. Just because you don't agree with, that doesn't mean that it's not true. No, you can I don't know, you can go to a restaurant and you might not like a type of food. Just because you don't like the type of food, it doesn't mean that that food is not food. It's still food. It's just you don't like it. You don't like to eat it, but it's still food. And it still gives you energy and protein and fats and carbohydrates. Just because you don't like it, it doesn't mean that it's not food. It's not stones, it's not dirt, it's still food. So, yeah, and this is what happens with the reality of the real world. Just because people don't like the real stuff and they don't study and analyze and research, it doesn't mean that the real stuff is going to disappear or it's not there or it's something else. No, it's still the same thing. It's something else for you. And that's, nobody cares about you or me. We have to be objective and go with the facts. Not with what I desire or what I would like it to be, right? So see you in the next video.